Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Trevor May podcast. Today we're going to be talking about motivation and how to find and maintain it. We are back with episode 8 of the podcast. I'm your host, Trevor May. First things first, let's do a little bit of an update on the Tommy John progression. Yesterday was Friday, March 13th. I threw a 30-pitch, quote-unquote, touch-up bullpen as my final bullpen, which I've said 3 times, I think, but this is official this time. Of the quote-unquote bullpen portion of the rehab. So starting on Monday, in 2 days from today, as today is Saturday, I am throwing a live batting practice, which basically is me throwing off a mound close to game speed to a hitter that is inside of like kind of the batting cage turtle is called, or like the moving, backstop. And I'm going to face a couple right-handed hitters, a couple left-handed hitters. Some guys are going to be from rehab guys that are hoping to go to their respective affiliates in the minor leagues, and then Jorge Polanco, who is down, currently serving his suspension, and staying fresh for when he is ready to play. He's also going to face me as well. So I'm actually it's a huge milestone. I'm super excited about it. I threw to 180 feet long toss today in preparation. Tomorrow is going to be my final Sunday off from going to the field for a while. I'm going full blown 5-day rotation in order to get myself ready to play here very soon. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be great. I wanted to first apologize for being a day late with this episode of the podcast. I think the topic is really interesting to me, the topic of motivation, and just kind of delving into it a little bit. But where it kind of come into mind is I listen to other podcasts who've given me motivation to do this podcast, which we'll get into in a minute. But questions that they get a lot, and this is namely, Gary Vaynerchuk, who is an entrepreneur, New York City, did WineLibrary.com, was one of the first YouTube stars, and has since built a large media company, a huge media company in New York City called VaynerMedia, and is extremely good at personal branding. He gets the question, how do you stay motivated? How do you have the energy levels? He's a very energetic guy, very, fly off the cuff, in your face kind of high energy guy. And he talks a lot about finding how the grind and the energy and the failure is all stuff that he needs to fuel his fire. I might not take that exact tact, but I noticed that he gets that question quite a bit. I've actually been DM'd a couple times like, hey, how are you staying motivated while you've been hurt? And Tommy John, another guy, Tim Ferriss, loves to ask the question, what motivates you? Right? Or maybe not even specifically. I'm having trouble thinking of any exact anecdotes where he was asking that specific question, but it's kind of around that idea, because he's very interested in why successful people, or why exceptional people are exceptional. And a lot of his books he's written and stuff are about that. I know I've talked about him a lot. I talked about him last week quite a bit too, but it's just that all that stuff kind of speaks to me as well. I'm really interested in what motivates people. And for me, a lot of my life has been searching for so many ways to and then stay motivated, because you go to a leader, like I would go to leadership camps in high school, and people would be like, all right, you be leaders tomorrow, and this, that, and the other, start your own businesses, you could do anything, and you have all this adrenaline going, you're like, yeah, but then you go back to your own life and it kind of just it lacks luster at that point, and it kind of just falls to the wayside if you're not really passionate about it. So it's finding passion that should help with motivation. But let me say this before I get really into kind of how I outlined I was going to do this episode. This is a disclaimer. every one of us, anybody who is listening to this, any guy out there who's like may have gotten hurt in high school, can't play this year. I have a family member, one of my wife's cousins, who listens to the pod. Hey Thomas, strained his elbow and he's taking the summer off from baseball, and that's really, I can imagine how. Trust me, I can imagine how frustrating that is. But his situation got me thinking of how would I move forward here, right? And would I spark that fire right up from day one and go? And there is going to be a small window of woe is me, why'd this happen to me? I'm so frustrated, because you have to have that low point in order to light the fire the hottest it can be to get to the high point, right? So just know that we're all human, right? There are days where you are like, I don't know why I can't get up for this, or I can't put more work into this. You burn. You really will burn out. And this goes back all the way to our first episode. Learning about yourself, learning about what you want, and having a purpose for the things you do makes it okay to have a demotivated day if you can then create a plan around how you're going to be motivated at maybe later time. And know that you're going to have days, you're going to look at guys like Gary Vee, and you're going to look at guys like Tim Ferriss, you're going to look at guys like pro athletes that are, saying, no off, hashtag no off season, or rise and grind, all that stuff, right? Just know that those people also have times where they just don't want to do anything as well. And you just see the front facing public version, and that it's okay for you to be like, man, I just feel like, bleh, I'm going to do what I want right now. Because that is important as well. And just find ways to kind of have a. We're going to talk today about strategies from going from there to being your hyper excited, motivated self in order to get what you want to get out of whatever you're doing. But I just wanted you to know that every day for me is a struggle to create the life that I want to create, that I want to live. And it's not there yet. And I'm beginning to realize, 28 years old, that it may never get there, but that's not the point. I don't want to get to where I'm a perfect human. That's not a real thing, but it's the journey to get there that I love so much. So that's part of what my motivation is. So let me just start at my most recent experience with finding motivation and discovering why I do the things I do, and then maintaining that motivation on a day-to-day basis, and then finding successes. You're going to find that this is going to lock into routine. This is going to lock into the documentation episode. This is going to lock into the My Journey episode. This is going to lock into every episode up to this point. All of those themes, you're going to hear them probably today, and they all factor into maintaining and motivation. It's kind of just the next step, right? So recently I had Tommy John surgery. Let me take you recently, meaning almost 13 months ago. But when you have Tommy John, you are going to be, no matter when you get it. So I got it as early in the season as possible. I got it 3 weeks into spring training. Barring it happening on day one of spring training, I literally was, they said, they looked me in my eyes and they said, hey, you are not playing baseball this year. In 2017, you will not throw in a baseball game. And I said, man, that sucks. So what do? You turn into me, a highly motivated person, a highly goals-oriented person, a highly process-oriented person. I fell into this kind of hole of who gives a crap. Nothing I'm doing right now. This is before. Let's call this a week before surgery. Nothing I'm doing right now is going to get me to that goal any faster until I get surgery. So there's nothing I can do. So I kind of said, what's the point of being on a diet? So I ate a bunch of candy. What's the point of anything? What's the point, right? I was depressed. For about a week, I'd say 7 days, I was literally woke up, went to the field, didn't do anything, didn't care, didn't want to do anything, didn't want to talk about it. Then I went home, hung out the wire. I just wanted to play video games and sit around and watch TV. But at the back of my mind, I knew that hey, this is kind of what brought me out. I said, hey, I have opportunities to, one, improve myself mentally and improve other parts of myself physically that may have been nagging me on the baseball field for the last couple of years. I was coming from 16 to 17 on an injury. And I wrote about a lot of this in the my trade rumors articles early last year. But this is all, having lived what I said I was going to live. It was all pretty much true. I started to see. I started in the back of my mind to formulate, because I can only be like quote unquote worthless in my own mind for so long before I'm like, I'm bored of it. I'm bored of not doing anything. So I quickly started to formulate a plan, like, hey, what am I going to do in this next like 9 months before I like really ramp up throwing, or feel like I'm a full-time baseball player. I think it was 10 months that I wouldn't be able to do had I been playing in this season. And I'm going to take advantage of my time where I cannot do something that's going to take all my time. And I'm going to fill that time with something else, some other passion. So the things I did were as follows. Because the tunnel was so far away, I saw an opportunity to pursue something that might take a long time, right? So I'm very into video games. A lot of you know that I stream on Twitch. That was actually really serious at the time. It should never have been as serious as it has become, but it's just so much fun. And I think I'm finally to a place where I feel like I can put it down if I need to just put it down and just take a day and just say, I'm not going to do this. See you guys tomorrow, you know? But I'm very into Twitch, a streaming website for video games. I was very interested in esports and like what makes someone good at esports, right? Because I've been just questing. I've been looking at, I say questing, like I'm playing World of Warcraft. I've been looking at what makes baseball players good for my, the majority of my life. So I started to look, hey, what makes gamers good? And I realized that not only that, the science built around it is very minimal. There are people out there that are taking an advanced statistics approach, an advanced analytics approach that baseball's starting to take, but they're going to take them towards games, and specific games, like Overwatch. Okay, like Overwatch, Blizzard's game Overwatch. Blizzard also created a league, a franchise league that's very much like a pro league. So I started to say, hey, there's really interesting business opportunities here, because advanced analytics is becoming a big business in baseball. And if you can create really valuable tools and really valuable statistics and really valuable data around some kind of proprietary ideas, and you finding value in the numbers, and then start to give that to players and then see how they progress, you start to build brand equity, and you start to be able to bring a really valuable thing to a market that needs it. And as the kind of the stakes grow, and the money that's flowing into the game, into the league is growing, and the players, having very good players, is becoming more and more valuable to teams, then analyzing that talent also becomes more valuable. Kind of goes with it. That's why baseball is there. That's why basketball is there, and that's why NFL is there. It's all about a team finding as much value in a player before they pay them all the money, so that they can get some value before they have to pay them their worth. That is the point of sports. That's what being a GM is. That's what having a scouting department is. So I said, hey, let's start to build some stuff around Overwatch and the Overwatch League. So that's currently what we're doing. I own a company, or I'm a founder of the Esports Lab. It is the owner of winstonsLab.com, which is a statistics website for Overwatch. And currently we're developing a series of products that allow players to track a wide array of statistics, get insights into their play, and just honestly just get this huge buffet table of information in front of them, and then help them coalesce it into things that help that like allow them to get better, and then start tracking what that is, right? And then start making clear on what are we looking for, and what should future generations of players of this game also be looking for in their own play to see potential. The same way that we see velocity in baseball, and we see strikeout rate, and we see all this stuff, kind of indicators of maybe future, that's what analytics is, future projective performance. The same thing exists for everything competitive. Those stats exist for everything. It could be soccer, it could be lacrosse, it could be curling. There's something you can look at that is predictive somewhere, and it's very, very clear in video games. So that's what we're doing, and I got super excited about that because it was new. I get passionate about things, and that became kind of a fire lit that kind of helped to fuel the baseball side of things as well. So when I was at the field, I was like, man, I'm making so much progress because I'm hurt. And my goal right now is to progress so much faster in my life and my goals and all the things I'm passionate about and do stuff I really, really like. And I'm going to do them and I'm going to do them really well. And it's going to be because I got hurt. And that became my motivation. And that was super exciting for me. So that was one thing that helped me move out of that 1 week of depression. But the second thing was I'm very process oriented. So I wrote down a bunch of things that I wanted to accomplish in this year on the field. So when I come back, I'm ready to go. That was, working through my meditation program, working through my Pilates program to fix, kind of my back issues, which I'm excited to say have abated to almost gone and haven't been a problem at all in this whole process, which that's phenomenal. And I'm so excited about that. So I made this big checklist. Hey, I want to get to, my body to be a well-oiled machine at the end of this thing so that when I come back, I hit the ground and I'm already on a full sprint. And I want to go through enough hitters in my head and so that you don't have those growing pains that, hey, like when you're not pitching, you just assume everything's going to go well for you. And then you kind of have to relearn that getting through adversity when you go out and actually have a terrible outing, that you're like, oh man, I forgot this happened to you. I'm to a point now where I'm like, that's going to happen to me at some point, and I'm just going to have to battle through it the way I did when I was healthy. So I set those bigger goals, and then I started to say day by day by day by day, how's my elbow feel? How's my elbow feel? How's my elbow feel? And start to feel what does improvement feel like, and what does it look like, and what does finishing my program feel like and look like. And so just checking off my checklist was a win. Every day I created checklists of my routine. I wrote it all down, and then I got to check it all off. And that for me, that is knowing me. That is me asking the question, what motivates me? And then why does it motivate me? What motivates me and why does it motivate me? What motivates me is accomplishing things. Feeling like I did something. That is a motivation of mine. It always has been. It always will be. Feeling like I am progressing towards being the best at something. That is a huge motivator for me. And I'm honest about it. I love accomplishment. I love winning. I'm hyper competitive and I want to be better than you. And I want to be better than him. And I want to be better than her. And I want to be better than everybody at everything. If I'm doing it, and I'm serious about it, and I put any amount of time into it, I want to be better than you. And we talked about last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago, about frustration and using it as an indicator. That is where my frustration comes. I want all of those things. So when it doesn't happen, my response is instant frustration that coalesces sometimes in bursts of perceived anger, when in reality it's frustration. So I know that about me, but I embrace it. I'm honest with myself. That is something I really want. I also want to be able to take care of my family and provide, but I want to make lots of money in my life. And not to a point where I get a pool of money and I get to watch it dwindle for the rest of my life. I want to actually make money until the day I die. I'm like, I have no. Retirement does not sound fun to me. It sounds like it's something like retirement from baseball, for example. It sounds like I get to start something new and just go full bore on that. Going and laying on a beach somewhere is like the worst thing I've ever heard of. And so that's another motivator of me. And I'm honest about it. I want to, because again, that feeds right in accomplishment, right? You're accomplished. That is the way kind of culture works. So I've created, like I realize that's what I want to do, but the macro, the biggest plan, all kind of filtered around there. All that is, I just want to create a legacy that is a positive change, and that I can help anybody else, help them see, how it's done and how to do it correctly and how to be successful correctly, and kind of just help create a generation after me to progress through their lives similarly to I did, the way I did, and then create change themselves. Because in the end, as things progress kind of in our culture and through my life and then beyond my life, people striving to accomplish great things for the human race and progress it is I think the ultimate kind of destiny for people who are ultra ambitious. I'll use that word. I'm very ambitious. So now that I know my motivations, and I know that dealing with, Tommy John could be seen as a huge step back, I was able to go to my kind of inherent motivations and see progress, even though I wasn't able to progress in my career on the baseball field. But I was still able to progress towards my ultimate goals of creating, accomplishing, a mountain of positivity in my life. And so that's what I did. And that's what I've been progressing through and moving towards, even though I wasn't able to throw in Major League Baseball games and help a team win, which is my goal now. So now here I am 13 months in, and I feel like lots of people feel like, okay, maybe I put pause on my other career, but as a whole, my life progressed from where I was 1 year ago to here I am now, is night and day, and I've grown. And for me, finding those little ways to motivate myself and finding that that's the way I thought, and there was ways for me to do it that didn't involve the baseball field, and then I'm able to go and switch it right back to the baseball field when it's time to go. That is the most exciting thing I've ever done. That is why I'm so excited now, and why I was able to get out of that small hole. So what I would say, my advice for finding motivation and then staying motivated, is to answer that question for yourself. What motivates me and why? And be brutally honest with yourself. And don't worry about like sounding selfish or sounding, horrible, because it's not for anybody else. It's for you. It's for you. So let's retouch on it a little bit and kind of go over a couple simple strategies. You're like, okay, cool. I've figured out what motivates me and I figured out why, but what are some strategies to like do this every single day and make sure that I stay there, I can go back there, right? So fill your life with things that motivate you. I'm a goal setter. I set a bunch of small goals. Like I said, the checklists were daily. There were some checklists that were monthly. I had checklists for the business and what we needed to do and bringing people together. Since we've had to bring more people on because my time has been limited and we need to bring I'm like, I need to get these things done or this thing will not move forward. And it not moving forward was a no-go for me. So I made the decisions and made the choices, started to change things in order to get that done. Small goals for for the macro, solution. Set small daily goals. Here's a quote. This one might help you. Here's a quote, and I believe it was from John Wooden. Sorry, who was the coach of the UCLA men's basketball team that won 10 of 11 national championships. And he said, or it could have been Coach Jackson, the coach of the Bulls and the Lakers when they won there. It was one of those two great coaches in the NBA or the NCAA, but they say get 1% better every day. And if you can say I did that, then that's a motivator for the next day to get 1% better than you are that day. It might not be 1%, it might be 0.01%, but a little bit better every single day. That's a motivator. That's an easy way to kind of get perspective, which takes me to the next thing. 1, create simple goals, simple checklists, simple daily things where you can see progress. Seeing progress is great. 2, create a framework where you're able to have perspective on what's happening, perspective on what anything that you perceive as negatively actually means. Be brutally honest and scrutinize the things that make you unhappy and realize whether or try to have some perspective on how important it really is to you and how much it really does affect you or those around you. Examples of this are if people are getting you down, if someone says you suck, For example, a great way that a great demotivator is someone telling you you're terrible on Twitter. And that's something I deal with, right? Hey, you're an idiot. Hey, like, great stream. Like, people, that's part of Twitch culture as well. They'll hop in, they're like, hey, I need attention and I need to say something horrible to this person I don't know, right? So that people will pay attention to me and I can get banned. Dealing with that stuff, right? Having perspective on how much does that person actually have to do with my life? And it's literally zero. So why does it bother me so much? Well, we're human, so we don't like it. But when you can go to a place of perspective and then making that a habit of yours, like, hey, I don't feel good today. I'm not feeling great about myself, or I'm not feeling great about my situation. Let me look at what's bothering me, and then let's see what kind of perspective we can get on it, and just make it an exercise. Create kind of checks that give you perspective. Things you can go to that are kind of consistent in your life. They say, well, at least I have this, right? At least I have a great family. At least I'm still getting good grades for those of you in high school. That kind of stuff. Because there's always going to be something you could find. And it takes work to maintain that perspective. 3, right? So we have simple goals and we have perspective. Try to revert back to your process. Now, we've talked about this before. I would recommend you going back and listen to the process episode of the pod, but try to break down whatever it is you're trying to improve at and stay motivated in whatever area of life it is, because it could be work, it could be sports, it could be love life, it could be anything. It could be it literally could be anything, right? Break it down into its simplest forms. What are the steps that I take when I'm successful? And then try to check all of those things off. So I guess the goals and the process kind of go hand in hand. Find little pieces of the process and make them as simple as you can. Literally as simple as writing down a list of like you're going grocery shopping and writing down the list and making it like nice and long, and you're like, I need to go get all this stuff, and then going and finishing that feeling you get from checking all these things off. Going grocery shopping is a process. I need to go get each one of these things in step by step in a step-by-step process here. And you say, but none of these steps are hard. They're all easy. So just get each easy step, and it's just time. And you're thinking about it as a whole, but if you think about it individually, it's easier to do. Try to apply that to whatever it is you're doing. So staying motivated is, again, it's a function of everything we talked about before. It's creating routines. It's setting goals. It's focusing on the process. It's taking it back to its simplest the simplest way to do things, right? And doing things for a purpose, having a purpose behind making the plan and then executing the plan, creating a routine, and then following the process and accomplishing the goals. Those are all motivators for me, because I know that they'll get me on my roadmap of my life to the point I am now, to the point I want to get to. And it's all just a series of events. And that's what keeps me motivated. And again, there's days where I wake up and I'm like, no, I don't know. I can't I don't want to return any emails. I don't want to text people. I'm currently terrible. Here's the big one for me. I'm currently terrible at communicating. I get a text message. I'll look at it and then not respond. And it's not out of any, it's just I get lazy and don't want to write a text. I don't want to start a conversation right now that might take a long time to do. And there's no way to tell how long it's going to take. And that's something I'm terrible at and I'm trying to get better at. But that's right now, that's my big thing, because I know communication is so important, because you can accomplish so much just by networking and communicating. You don't have to do anything. It actually creates a lot less work for you in the long run. That's perspective. You have perspective that communication creates a lot less work for you if you don't communicate and if you let stuff pile up. That's something that's a prime example. So let's kind of cover it all again, right? Say you're at a point right now where you're like, man, I'm so frustrated and I don't know where to go from here, but I know that I want to get somewhere. I know there's something I want, right? You've identified some place you want to go or you want to do. But you're like, how do you get motivation to start to move towards that? And ask yourself the question, what motivates me? What do I want? So say, I want that, right? You're like, okay, I want to do this because I want to get there. I want to get that promotion. Okay, let's put it in context. Why do I want that promotion? Why is that what I want? And answer it honestly. As honestly with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to say anything. Say, because I want the power, because I want to be able to tell other people what to do. I want to make more money. I want to then get the promotion from there, and I have to go there first. All of those things are completely valid. You can have the things for yourself that you want, right? You want it. So then start setting your simple goals. Start having perspective on why it is you're not starting. Because it's too much. It's just so much work. Okay, what about this one first step? That's not a lot of work. Just do that first. And then try to build processes around accomplishing those small goals. Put yourself in a place where, okay, I know I have my small steps that I need to take. Now, what do I need to do habit-wise in order to make sure that I accomplish those small goals every day? And then always keep looking at the end of that tunnel. That's what you want. That's what you want. That's your motivation. And have the perspective and the goal always in front of you so that you can constantly look at it. And if it lights that fire for you, that's all the motivation you need. So you just take it and you run with it. And before you know it, you start seeing every day you say, okay, I did what I need to do. I got 1% better. And you just get there. Sooner or later, you just get there. If you do the things that you need to do for long enough. That's it. Thanks, guys, for being here in episode 8 of the Trevor May podcast. I have a great time doing it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, see you later. Don't forget to follow on Spotify or subscribe on iTunes or Google Play. Leave a review. Let me know what you thought. As always, 5-star reviews will put a smile on my face. So I thank you in advance. If you ever need to get a hold of me, you can always check me out on Twitter or on Instagram at TrevorMay65 or YouTube at I am Trevor May. Thanks.